application lives, where they do their pre-flight briefings and whatever they do. They don't need a full desktop experience to do that. They have a mobile device and that's what they use. But approximately 1,500, 2,000 people in Transavia are knowledge workers. They do their job on a laptop. And when I joined Transavia about a year and a half ago-ish, the main task for me as an independent consultant architect was to migrate their workforce from Windows 10 to Windows 11. We were a bit late to the party. We're a low-cost carrier, budgets. But we got to do that and in the same process migrate from using the old legacy way of managing stuff, SCCM, on-prem Active Directory, George, Intune, Enter ID, and the whole mono workplace thing. During that project, we ran into some use cases where we said, well, what we're doing now with Intune and Windows 11 and the whole management part might not be the best fit for these kind of users in our organization. Because we have people using shared devices, a lot of people signing into the same device. That always brings up a hassle with managing profiles and disks running full and stuff like that. We also have, and I'm still a bit afraid to say this, shared accounts. People using the same account to get their work done. And I had our security operations breathing down my neck to get that fixed. Everyone needs to do their job on their own personal accounts, preferably using some kind of strong authentication, multi-factor or Windows Hello or whatever. So during the project, and I need to tell you this project was done by our managed service provider. We have a managed service provider. We had a managed service provider, spoiler for the end of the session, that managed our workplace for us. When it still was Windows 10, System Center, they were the guys that did all the SCAD work. And they ran the project for us. And when I joined Transavia, I told them, well, I can do this project. I think I can do it better than the managed service provider does. I can probably do it cheaper than they do, because I don't have the whole organization around it. But I can't do it any faster than them. And we need to be done by October 2025, because the end of support for Windows 10 is there. Let them do it. But let's keep that deployment as close to all the best practices, out-of-the-box experiences as we can. So if you build something in Intune, don't use any custom profiles, custom packaging. Keep it as close to what's considered the best practice and the industry standard as possible. And we had some talks about that with our Microsoft representatives who were supporting us during that project. We get some support from Microsoft based on the amount of money we give them. And they said, well, for all those different scenarios you have, give Windows 365 a try. We will give you some trial licenses, like 5 or 4 cloud PCs, spin them up and see what it can do. And you will see the use cases once you've actually tried the product and started using it. And then you can build your workplace around that. So that's what we did, and we identified pretty quickly a few different use case scenarios for that Windows 365 part. So first of all, like within any organization, within Transavia we have a lot of external hires. People that are not actually on the Transavia payroll, but they do work for Transavia. I'm one of them. And up until now, all those external hires would use bring your own device to get their work done. They walk in with their own Windows laptop or their MacBook. They sign into their Transavia account. They sync all that data into that local device. And they start working. And again, it was our security operations department breathing down my neck to say, well, we need to get that fixed as well, because we can't control the device. We don't know if the disk is encrypted. We don't know where the data is stored. We need to be more in control. So there are 2 options, basically 3. You can do some application management things, have them enroll their desktop in your management system or their laptop in your management system and control it from there. I don't know about you. I'm not giving up management rights to my own personal or business device to a third party. Even if it's the one I work for, it's my device. You're not controlling them. Second option is to just give them a device from the organization. Here's your Transavia laptop. You can get your work done on this. And I can't speak for each and every one of you, but in the Netherlands, our tax regulation, they have something to say about how freelance people do their job. And they try to check if it's really a freelance job or if it's something that's supposed to be just a payroll job. And you have all these checkboxes you need to comply with to make sure you're still actually seen as a freelance employee. And one of the things is, if you do your job in a freelance way, you need to bring your own tools. If you're a carpenter and you show up to a job, you bring your own hammer and your own saw to get the job done. If you're in IT, you bring your own tools. You bring your own device to get the job done. If the employer hands you the device, they say, well, you didn't even bring your own tools. Why do you call it freelance or independent? You should be on the payroll. And if we decide that for you, you still owe us some taxes over the past 2 or 3 years where you should have been on that payroll. So there's a lot of hesitation around that. And of course, you can make a case that, well, security-wise, we need them to have their own device from our company because we need to lock down, we handle personal information, but it's still a bit of a risk. So the ultimate option was to give them their own device, but let the device be a cloud PC, ran in Azure Cloud. Here's your cloud PC. You can sign into that using your own endpoint. And on that cloud PC that we manage just like we manage each and every one of our Windows 11 devices, you can get your work done. And that's one of the first things that struck us when entering that cloud PC Windows 365 space. It's just the same as a local endpoint. You manage it through Intune, and all the investment that you did in building your configuration profiles and packaging your applications to deploy them with Intune, you can reuse that when you start using Windows 365. Now, the second group of people are people that are actually on Transavia payroll, but they do some kind of shared task, frontline workers. They're not the knowledge workers that sit behind their laptop each and every day for 8 hours or more. They walk up to an aircraft, they fix the engine. And when they're done, they walk back into their office where they have a few shared devices. They sign in and they create their maintenance report so the airplane can fly again. Currently, there are a lot of shared devices, shared accounts being used for that. And Windows 365 gave us the opportunity to have them work on their own, independent, separate personal accounts, but still use that same device scenario because we have a few devices that they can use to sign into their cloud PC. So there's no local profile management being done. It's just an endpoint. It's a thin client. So that was the second use case we discovered. And the third use case, that's a bit of an outlier. Like I said, we fly into like 120, 140 destinations all over Europe. And each of those destinations have people doing tasks on behalf of Transavia. If you go to an airport and you walk up to the aircraft, there's someone there to check you in or to board you. There are people in the luggage basement handling your suitcase and making sure it gets on the right plane. That's all information that Transavia provides to that local airport so they can do their job. Those people aren't on Transavia payroll, they're external companies working for that airport, but they need access to our passenger data in a secure way, preferably. Up until now, that was done through a Citrix environment, where they had access to specific applications, through a Citrix supplier portal, as we call it. And there were some security concerns with that. The way sign-in was handled, the way MFA was handled, or not handled. And I can't go into complete details about that, but it wasn't the best implementation. So while looking for alternatives during that Windows 10, Windows 11 migration, this popped up as another reason to look into Windows 365 as well. What if we can replace an entire Citrix environment and that supplier portal using cloud PCs? So that's where the licensing part comes in. Basically, in Windows 365, you have three types of licenses. The first one is the enterprise license. And that's what you would expect from a as a service type of kind of thing. You give someone a license, they get a cloud PC, and they can use it 24/7. It's their own personal cloud PC. The device is there for them to use. Those compute resources are reserved for whenever they need them. They can just sign in and use it. Personalized, full-blown Windows desktop experience, all deployed and managed through Microsoft Intune. So that first scenario that I showed with the external hires signing in doing their job, that perfectly fits that Windows 365 enterprise scenario. Instead of handing them a device, we hand them a Windows 365 enterprise license, they sign in, and they can do their work. The second option is the Windows 365 frontline. And that's designed for people working in shifts. So what you get with the frontline license, the dedicated one, is it allows someone access to their cloud PC during their shift. So with one single license, you can provision up to 3 cloud PCs for people to use. They can't use them simultaneously, but there are 3 cloud PCs ready to use for these 3 people. Because each of them work an 8-hour shift, and 8 hours times 3 makes a 24-hour day. This is still a personalized, full Windows, full desktop experience. You get your own cloud PC. Basically what happens when you sign in is they fetch the VHD file with your PC, they connect it to the available compute resources, and you sign in. And when you sign out, the VHD file is disconnected and stored away for the next time you sign in. So you don't assign those licenses to individual people. Well, you assign it to individual people, but it's not like these 3 people share one license. You buy an amount of licenses, and you can have 3 times that amount of people ready to sign in each and every different combination. Yeah.
You say you have 3 employees using 2 licenses, but from what I've seen, most companies work shift.
Yeah.
5 shifts because they also have to go on the weekend.
Yeah.
So you're short 2 licenses.
Yeah, like you said, you have up to 3 cloud PCs per user, so why not 5, for example, because you have multiple shifts? A good question. The 3 comes from the fact that you can each then use that cloud PC for 8 hours a day, and then still amount up to 24 hours. So if you have more people in your organization, you need to buy more licenses, basically. So this matches our technical department, for example, where they work in shifts. They don't need to have full-time access to that PC because they do their technical thing and then they walk back to the computer to get their job done. We're currently using that for our technical department guys and girls. The last one is an alternative on that. That's the frontline shared license. It's the same license as the frontline dedicated. It's the same SKU, you pay the same price. But the way you implement it through Intune dictates if it's used in a dedicated or a shared way. And the frontline shared license gives you access to a cloud PC the moment you sign in, and then it nukes it the moment you sign out. It's not your own personal cloud PC anymore. It's kind of a shared device scenario within the cloud PC. And the main advantage of that one is that you license it based on the amount of concurrent sessions you have. So if you know, well, I have 20 people, but I have only 3 of them working at the same time, you only need 3 licenses. For each license you have, a cloud PC is prepared in the back end and is ready to sign in. And if n+1 signs in, they will just get an error message that there are no available resources. So budget-wise, that's a very budget-friendly option, because you only license the amount of concurrent sessions. Management-wise, these are shared devices. So you can't do any personalization within the cloud PC, because when the user signs out and signs back in again, he might end up on a completely different cloud PC. It's shared devices. So that won't fit every scenario. If you look at our technical department, we're currently transitioning on our aircraft side from Boeing to Airbus. So I believe this year 4 or 5 new Airbus aircrafts will be entering our fleet, and 4 or 5 Boeing aircrafts will be decommissioned. So our training guys, or our technical department guys, are trained to do maintenance on a specific aircraft type. They either do Boeing or they do Airbus. They are licensed for each and every one of them. Some of them do both, some of them just do Airbus, some of them just do Boeing. And they need different tools, because those different type of aircrafts require different tools to get maintenance reports, get maintenance documentation and stuff like that. So we can't really use that shared scenario for them, because they require different applications. And those are shared PCs. And in the provisioning policy, and we'll see that a bit later on, you will sell the applications that are available in that shared scenario. That does, however, fit our remote airports that do the check-in and the data handle, the luggage handling and stuff like that. There are two or three applications that they use. That's most of it. So by giving them a shared cloud PC with just 1 or 2 of those applications installed, they can do everything they need. And you can imagine that the check-in and boarding part of our fleet operations is not a constant factor in usage. We have peak times in the morning and in the evening. Because we're a low-cost carrier, we usually fly pretty early or pretty late. And that's the peak time for those moments to do that specific task. And by managing just the concurrent sessions, we can spread out the amount of usage we have on those cloud PCs. So we could match the use cases we had in our environment based on the licensing type that Microsoft has.
What if you had on your shared devices, just had some public add-on to, for your technical services, you only had, let's say, you have an NG server inside the environment, and I publish this maintenance tool for Boeing and our public maintenance tool for Airbus. Then you just publish over, and then you use the shared device for logging into.
Yeah. Yeah, so we could say, your question is, well, if you have users needing multiple applications, can you provision those multiple applications to the same shared device and then have them available? Yeah, yeah, that's an option. When we started out, that shared device option was providing full desktop. So you sign in, you get the desktop, and you have the applications that are installed on that shared setup. By now, we've moved over to cloud apps. We didn't have that when we started. That option became available late 2025, I believe. So now we just provision them with an application. And instead of getting a full desktop, they get just the application in their little launcher window, and they can start the app. And if you have multiple applications assigned, you have multiple applications in your little Windows 365 portal, and you can start each and every one of them.
What is the primary is an unknown system, full desktop, always?
Currently, everything we do in Windows 365 is persistent. So the enterprise SKU by default is persistent, because that's your own, it's like a laptop, only it's running in an Azure data center. So that's a persistent experience. The same goes for the frontline dedicated one. That's a dedicated machine. It's your personal cloud PC, and we just connect it at sign-in. So we want that to be persistent. We don't want to change that every day. The frontline shared, currently, it's persistent-ish. So your user profile currently is removed when you sign out. That's by default what Windows Frontline Shared does. The machine stays the same. In public preview since last week, I believe, is the snapshot-based restore. So when you provision the cloud PC at first boot, a snapshot is taken. If someone signs in and they sign out again, the machine will be reverted to that snapshot. So that makes it more non-persistent. And of course, you can combine that with a reprovisioning of the machine every night or every 2 or 3 days to fully wipe it and to push updates, for example. So when you reprovision, when the provisioning is done, a new snapshot is automatically taken, and that's a new baseline for the session. So it's in public preview. Currently, we're not using it because you have to sign up, and I'm in the sign-up process, and I have to wait to be admitted. But for now, it's sort of persistent because they do remove that user profile part at sign-out. So how do we get started? Basically, we've done a lot of investment already, of course, in our Intune setup, because we were moving Windows 10 to Windows 11 and SCCM to Intune. And we can just reuse that same build we already have to provision those cloud PCs. Because, like I said, a cloud PC is basically just a Windows laptop running in an Azure data center. So all the profiles you already have in place, all the configuration profiles, all the applications you already packaged for Intune, your Win32 apps, you can just use them for your cloud PC. You target them like you would target any other machine in your Intune deployment. You can do some filtering, of course, in Intune. So you can filter based on machine type. Cloud PCs have their own distinct machine type or manufacturer. So you can do some filtering to apply specific policies just to specific devices, for example. But you basically build on the environment you already have. It's fairly easy moving forward. There are some caveats there. If you have the default Windows 11 baseline security policy in Intune, for example, one of the settings there is it will deny remote sign-in to your machine. That works great for a laptop and not so great for a cloud PC. So you might need to do some tinkering in some default policies to have it to work with cloud PCs. Compliancy policies, for example, if you require a device to be BitLockered, you can't BitLocker a cloud PC. It doesn't have a TPM chip, so you can't BitLocker it. And of course, data is encrypted at rest in the Azure data center anyways. So you still get the same end result of an encrypted disk, just not using BitLocker. So you need to modify your compliance policy to not require a BitLocker for a cloud PC, for example. The basis for cloud PCs is a provisioning policy. And in a provisioning policy, you define what your cloud PC should look like. I don't have that much time. I won't go into the portal for now. You can look up all the YouTube videos and the screenshots on the internet. Basically, what your cloud PC provisioning policy defines is a few things. First of all, it's the image you're using. What image should be the basis of your cloud PC? So there are a lot of gallery images that Microsoft already provides for you. We decided to go with the most recent Windows version. We're currently on 25H2. Office is already included in that image, so you don't need to deploy that separately. And it's just a base image. Because everything else that you want to have on that end user device, on that cloud PC eventually, you do through Intune. You target those applications through Intune, and they are either automatically installed on your endpoint or on your cloud PC, or people can install them through the company portal. That's why we don't use the non-persistent version. We want people to be able to just install that application through the company portal, just like they would on their regular Windows 11 laptop. So you provide the image you use, you provide a network connection. By default, cloud PCs will use just a local Azure breakout for their network connection, but you can integrate them with an Azure VNet if you want to. So if you have your own VNet and your express route back to your on-prem environment, you can have the cloud PCs deployed in your VNet and do your network traffic through that. You can provide a naming template for your cloud PC to make sure you can find it. Just some basic settings.
It must be marketing reason, because normally they have at least 20% more rows.
Oh yeah, definitely. And drinks on free. Yeah. Another part of the provisioning is the device preparation. So the autopilot v2 function in Intune, you can combine that with your cloud PC. And what that does is it makes sure that your device is ready to use from the first time you boot it. So if you have a provisioning policy, you say, well, I have this provisioning policy, it will provision this device, and then when someone signs in, we can push the applications needed on that device through Intune. So the first time someone signs into that cloud PC, they need to wait for specific applications to become available, because Intune is still doing the installation at first sign-in. With the device preparation policy, you can make sure that after the first provisioning is done, the device preparation policy is applied, and all those applications will be installed before the device is ready for use. So before the first sign-in of the user, those applications will be there. And this is great for the shared device scenario because we just use the base Windows 11 image, 25H2, without any additional software. We don't create a custom image for it. We just use that base image. And then we push all those applications through Intune. So if you have an extra update for one of those apps, we don't need to rebuild our image. We just push the update through Intune. And when we reprovision a device, we take the base 25H2 image, that's installed, and the device preparation policy takes care of installing all those additional applications before the user signs in. So at sign-in, all the apps will be ready. For our remote scenarios, so our airport locations, we used to include our Cato VPN clients so they can access our data. That turned out to be a bit of a hassle because they need to sign into that Cato client, needs every time to sign into the application, or they start the application before they start the Cato client, and then they get an error and they call our help desk, and the help desk says, well, you need to wait 2 minutes before you start the application, then it will work. So we changed that over to Azure VNets. So all those virtual machines, all those cloud PCs that are used for providing just the application, they live in a specific Azure VNet combined with our Azure Express Route connection to take the network traffic back to our data center. So no need for point-to-site VPN anymore. They just use our Azure Express Route. Endpoints. What about other users in the technical department that need to access their cloud PC that we have for them? Those are shared devices. They're not personal endpoints. So Microsoft came up with the Windows 365 link, and we're going to give that a go. This is the marketing picture from Microsoft. So this is this nice little device with 2 big screens. It basically works in the same way. So this was our test setup. These are 2 32-inch 4K resolution screens powered by a Windows 365 link. It's a proof of concept, so don't mind the cabling, please. It's basically a thin client. It's the thin client we all have come to know and love over the past couple of years. The only thing, it's purpose-built. The only job of this device is to get you connected to your Windows 365 cloud PC. And still, this Windows 365 link PC is managed through Intune as well. So it does connect back to your tenant. You can apply all your configuration profiles and your setup like you would through Intune, and it will just start your cloud PC for you. Now, our security department, they said, well, sign-in needs to be secure. We use Windows Hello on our laptops. How can we make sure that the sign-in to these cloud PCs are secure? Well, we require you to do multi-factor authentication when you sign into your cloud PC. That's fine for our external hires that just bring their phone and acknowledge the pop-up. But the guys working on aircrafts, even if they have their phone on them, they will probably break it within 2 minutes, or it will be all greasy. That's not the best option for them. We actually get phones back into our back office that have been run over by an Airbus. Phones don't live that long. So we want an alternative option, and we decided to go with this little thing. This is an NFC reader, an NFC card reader that reads FIDO2 chips in a credit card-sized card. So you can use that little NFC reader, to walk up to a shared machine, place your badge, type in your PIN code, and it will sign you into your cloud PC. And this is a proof of concept. I had 2 different cloud PCs assigned to my account at this time, so I have to choose between the 2 which one I want started. But it will just sign you into your cloud PC and bring you your experience. So this is a pretty fast and easy way to sign in. It's strong authentication because it uses the FIDO chip in the card. Sign-in times are faster than what you see here because this is a proof of concept. You swipe your badge, you type in your PIN code, and you're in. This is a separate card. By now, our entry badges for all buildings have been replaced. They have a FIDO2 chip inside that entry badge. So you can just use your regular badge that you use to enter the building to access your cloud PC as well. A lot of our engineers at aircrafts use iPads to get their work done, to do maintenance reports rather actually on the tarmac underneath the aircraft. You can do that as well. So you can have the Windows app on your iPad. Start the Windows app, have your iPad connected to a monitor using USB-C, and you will get full screen Cloud PC shown using your iPad as the endpoint. So what did we learn building our Windows 365 experience? I think the most important part here is just get your feet wet. Try it out. And we've seen it in the keynote as well. Try things. Get a Cloud PC license, see how it works, and then the use cases will pop up for you. And it's an ongoing thing. The landscape keeps changing. Microsoft keeps improving the experience in Cloud PCs and the way you manage them and the functionalities. So we've switched gears and direction of our end solution quite a few times. When we started out, we were going to provide all these remote locations with a full desktop to run those apps to do the check-in. By now, they just get the cloud app because that functionality appeared. And now we're getting ready to do that snapshot-based reprovisioning automatically for them, so we can have them give them a full non-persistent experience. User state synchronization has become generally available. So if you provision a shared Cloud PC for someone, they get a few gigabytes of storage for their user profile. So you can do non-persistent Cloud PCs, but still have that user profile automatically connected. They haven't officially told they're using FS Logic's technology for that, but I'm sure they have. Yeah. So you keep improving on that. And what helps for me to get the message across to the rest of the organization is we're giving you a Windows 11 endpoint. We're just giving you a laptop, only it's not in a laptop anymore. It's somewhere running in a data center. And that really helps with getting the message across to our support organization as well. Because they know, well, it doesn't matter if someone is working on a Windows 11 laptop or on a Cloud PC. We do the same troubleshooting and the same remediation steps as we would normally do, because it's just a Windows 11 endpoint. So those are the most important parts of getting started with it. And once you get started and you move forward, I wasn't really in the end user computing realm like 2 years ago. I'm more of a Microsoft 365 guy. I do Intune. And then Microsoft came along and said, hey, this is our Windows 365 thing. Do you want to try it out? And now I'm here. In a year and a half, you can have someone that doesn't have that much end-user computing experience run proof of concepts like this. And that was also the main reason for our organization to go with Windows 365 and Cloud PCs and not Azure Virtual Desktop, because we can build the same on Azure Virtual Desktop or on anything else if you want to. But we don't want the hassle of managing that underlying platform. If I go with Azure Virtual Desktop, I need to build session hosts, I need to manage them, I need to update them, I need to make sure my applications are in the image and we can use them. I need to manage the infrastructure. And now it's just as a service. I say, well, I'd like this image, please. Give me 20 of these Cloud PCs for these users, and 15 minutes later I can use them. And it also helped us in how we manage our Windows 11 environment, because the MSP I talked about at the start of this presentation, we've moved away from them supporting our Windows 11 organization. We can do this ourselves. It's all in Intune. And it doesn't matter if it's a laptop or a Cloud PC, it's the same way of managing it. So we don't need the highly skilled endpoint management guys to run that. We can do that ourselves. And if we have something that really requires a highly skilled endpoint management guy, we hire one for a project. So those are the main takeaways from what we've done with Windows 365. Are there any questions apart from the one we've already heard right now? Because I've seen a message that I have like 2 minutes left or something. Yeah. Yeah, so we see the Cloud PC as a Windows 11 laptop. And all our Windows 11 users on their laptop, they get a Titel client to connect back into our network. And it doesn't matter where you are. So if you have your laptop and you sit at a Starbucks, or you sit at home, or you sit in our office, or if you have a virtual laptop that sits in a data center, you just use that Titel client to connect back to our network. And all our applications had been used that way for years. because we were already used to accessing those applications through that Cato connection. So they all perform good. For applications that need lower latency, and we haven't run into that, but we already have built the business case for that. We can run them as a remote app, or a cloud app, I should say, on a cloud PC using our express route connection back into our infrastructure. And most of the applications already have their backend running in Azure, in our Azure tenant, and not in our on-prem data center. So that connection should be very fast.
It looked like it's really good when sessions are not that long, that you work from A to file.
Yeah.
Kind of breaks the model on shared desktops versus single session.
Yeah.
365. That's the deal breaker with that.
So for the business case, you mean, right? For the costs and the pricing, is there a difference between? Of course, there is a difference. But what's the difference between running them in an Azure Virtual Desktop shared user session and in a cloud PC? So for the cloud PCs, for that scenario, for short task-based things, we go with the frontline shared option. So you only license them based on concurrent sessions. You need to do some monitoring on that to see what the max amount of concurrent sessions is. Monitoring in Intune, because you manage it through the Intune portal, isn't that good on that. There are improvements coming, but you can also script it yourself. It's just a Graph API call to get the current amount of sessions, run that each 15 minutes, have it being written to a log analytics workspace, and you can build your own dashboards. A blog post coming up somewhere in the next 2 weeks. What you need to include in your TCO, so in your TCO calculation, is also the amount of time it takes you to manage the underlying infrastructure. So for us, the business case was in favor of using Windows 365 Frontline Shared, just because of those extra costs of managing your AVD, managing the images, and managing the underlying infrastructure. But of course, it will differ per organization. Yeah. Yeah.
Just to compare our own now to the Frontline Shared the features.
Yeah.
It's still for this pure hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, I can understand. Yeah, yeah. It depends on your organization and how you use it. And for us, the bulk of our users uses their own personal physical device, and these are just the edge cases that need some kind of shared scenario, and then it's easier to maintain to do it as a service instead of building your own infrastructure. Yeah. I'm out of time. Thanks for coming. If you have any further questions, I'll be here till around 1 because I fly back at 2, but come find me. And this is my LinkedIn if you want to connect, be free. And make sure to connect to the EUCtech Denmark LinkedIn page. And that kind of sums it up for today. Have a good day. Yeah.